Hello, Hockey World. Today is Friday, September 9th, 2016.
I'm Russ Cowen from Sportsology.
I'm Michael Lagello, and this is the Hockeybuzzcast here on HockeyBuzz.com. We may be joined by Eklund later in the show, but right now it's just the two of us, and we're talking about, well, the NHL, the World Cup. But I want to start with some NFL stuff and relate it to what's going on in the NHL right now because I didn't watch very much of that opening rematch of the Super Bowl, Russ, between Carolina and Denver. But in talking with you this morning and then seeing some of the replays on ESPN, you could see that Denver. Oh, hi, Kaya. You could see that Denver was going all out to separate Cam Newton's head from his body.
Yeah.
And in a world, where we're dealing with concussions, where we've had the concussion movie with Will Smith, where we've had lawsuits in almost every professional sport, it's surprising to see a team go like that and use those tactics on a player.
Yeah, I mean, it's nice to have a movie, it's nice to have a protocol, but when none of those things seem to matter on the field and then the referees don't do anything about it, the players don't care about it. I mean, that's the reality is, the players on Cam Newton's team cared about it because he was the one where we were kind of wondering if the guy could even finish the game. But it broke down like this. I started watching more of the second half, and I saw one bad shot, and then it was getting close to the end of the game, and Carolina was slowly losing the lead that they had, and they eventually lost the lead. And so it was the final drive, maybe 40 seconds left, and I saw that, somebody on Denver sort of launched himself like a missile and hit him right in the head, right? And that happened just as Newton had broken out and rolled out of the pocket, but couldn't get the ball beyond the line of scrimmage. Now, the shot to the head did prevent that. And so you think about that, and you're like, and there's a flag. So on TV, of course, they're like, well, I guess that flag's for grounding. And then they're like, well, maybe they're going to be roughing the quarterback. And in the referee's infinite wisdom, they made it a canceled out, call. And I'm thinking, how do you do that? How do you, when you have a hit to the head like that, it should be an automatic ejection, which it is in the NCAA. It should be, if nothing else, an automatic first down, even if you're going to say they're negating penalties. And so, like, I just don't get it. The league, based on the rules, is not telling me that a hit to the head is that important other than it's a 15-yard infraction.
Well, apparently there's no hierarchy in the NFL when it comes to penalties because, like a defensive holding penalty is a 5-yard penalty, but it's an
Right.
automatic first down. Offsides is a 5-yard penalty, but if there is a 15-yard penalty, I mean, unless I'm wrong here, and I used to be really good on the NFL rules, but if there's a 15-yard penalty going one way, unless it's a personal foul, like pass interference,
Mm-hmm.
they consider it offsetting.
Yeah.
Whereas there's no hierarchy. If it's a 15-yard penalty and there's a 5-yard penalty, then the 15 either should override the 5 or it should be a 10-yard.
Well, these are two 15s. They are
Right,
two 15s, but one's a little more severe than the other. And
right.
that's the basic point is if you're going to have offsetting penalties, you have to have this sort of be like in the NHL, like a match penalty. You really have to have it has to have its own classification, especially when this is going on all game and nothing is really being called. I mean, that's the part that really hurts. Now, I will tell you at the end of the game, they froze the kicker. The kicker missed the kick. He made the first one, missed the second one. The interesting thing about that is if we bring it over now to the World Cup and say, what if when Nathan McKinnon, what if when Nathan McKinnon was going to do his penalty shot, just as he sort of got in motion and touched the puck, what if the opposing team called the timeout? To me, it's the same thing.
Well, I mean, and I was thinking about this. If you think about it, late in the game, even if, well, okay, there is the replay call. You could dispute, you could dispute a call with the replay simply for delay tactic.
Right.
You may know for sure that it's like an offside or it's whatever, and
But you're wasting it so you guys can get some rest.
right, exactly. And then the thing is, the negative ramification is just the timeout. And the thing is, if you like, say for example, you're a team like Chicago and you're down by a goal, and you've been playing Kane and Taves and Keith and Seabrook out there like the last 2 minutes, and you've got like maybe say 30 seconds left. If you take the timeout, you're only getting 30 seconds. If you dispute a play and ask for the replay, it's going to take 2 to 3 minutes.
Yes.
So you're going to get a lot more of a blow from that than you would be an actual timeout. So I think it's more beneficial for the team. There are going to be tactics like that, and that's.
I just don't like it. I don't like the freezing of the kicker thing, but I'm not that big about that. To me, the head shot is worse, right? Let's take that out. I mean, seriously, you were telling me about the NHL and their new rule.
Yeah. The NHL coincidentally this morning released some new information about their concussion protocol. According to the press release for the 2016-17 season, 4 independent trainers called Central Spotters will be monitoring all NHL games via television, and if they see visible signs of a concussion, they will send word to the team that their affected player must be removed from the game. So, I mean, there were instances in the last couple years when the heightened protocol in the dark room occurred where the player didn't go to the dark room, where he told the trainer, I'm okay, and I remember there was one, I can't remember the specific instance, but during the playoffs last year.
I remember it too.
Yeah, there was a player who waved off the trainer and he didn't go to the dark room and he was back out for the next shift. And I don't think there were any negative repercussions, but still that goes against what the rules are now. So here, I think the NHL is basically doing a CYA, because there's still litigation that's in the works.
Oh yeah,
the NHL and.
But here's the thing. So it's nice to say that you have spotters, but until I see it in action, I'm going to have a little bit of skepticism. That's all. I want to see it in action because the NFL has spotters. No one used the spotter last night for Cam Newton. Clearly, he shouldn't have been able to go out there for that last play. He was rattled, and he even said at the end of the game he felt crappy.
And they made sure this morning to say that he's passed 4 concussion tests since last night. So this is the major CYA. Right.
And so, again, it's nice to say these things, and I know players don't want to come out. I get it. But they have to look down the road. We as fans don't want to see them like, let's say Jim McMahon. Have you seen Jim McMahon lately? He doesn't remember anything. Like he could talk to you, but he has no memory of, the last 10 minutes sometimes. He's a young guy.
Well, one thing I'm sure he's glad that he can't remember is the video for the Super Bowl Shuffle. Okay. Now we talked during the show yesterday. We talked about Finland and Sweden. We talked a little bit about Czech and Russia. The game last night, I think most people were watching because we're so starved for hockey that even a World Cup exhibition game we're going to watch, and it was the first chance to see North America against Team Europe. And first of all, I have to say, Team Europe is probably going to be the worst team in this tournament.
I think yesterday cemented that.
Yeah, the Czechs, they're not very deep, but I think they have more talent. Team Europe is the worst. But Team North America dominated them after basically a feeling out sort of first period.
You guys, like I said, 5-2, and you guys were like, no, it's going to be a 1-goal game.
Yeah. Okay, for like a broken clock, you're right twice a day.
Yep.
So there was a 4-0 game, 3 goals in less than 5 minutes in the second period by Team North America, and then Nathan McKinnon scored on a penalty shot in the third. Matt Murray had 23 saves and really didn't. I can't remember one really great chance that Europe had.
There were some good chances late, and there were some good chances in the middle, I think, of the first period. That's about it.
Yeah.
Like they just got dominated from almost start to finish. The good parts for Team North America were they showed 4 really good lines. Like it didn't matter, and they're not playing a checking line. And so you could see where that may be the problem that we're going to have with Team USA is These guys don't have that. And so everything was working well. The only thing I didn't like was at the end of the first period, rather, I saw McClellan took out Matthews for like the last 30 seconds, put a veteran out on his line. I don't think you need to do that. I think going forward, he should have realized or noticed Matthews was getting some of the better chances in that game, played great defense in the neutral zone, a lot of pucks. He was knocking a lot of pucks back, and guys were having trouble with him. Even Chara was having trouble with him.
Well, I mean, obviously I was focusing on Matthews because, obviously because I cover the Leafs and wanted to see how he did. And he was playing. I like the line. I called it the top pick line with it was him, Nugent Hopkins, and Nathan McKinnon, who had a regulation goal and that penalty shot goal. And
one thing before you go, if you notice, for people that thought maybe I was railing unfairly the other day about Nugent Hopkins taking faceoffs, McKinnon took the faceoffs. You noticed that, right? Yeah.
Yeah, I did. And Matthews had the first really good scoring chance in the first period for North America. And if you watch, and he didn't get an assist in the game. I think he played a little over 13 minutes. He had a couple hits and was +1. But the goal that Nugent Hopkins scored, Draisaitl tried to make an outlet pass along the boards, and Matthews deflected the pass, kept it in the zone, and it eventually went to Nugent Hopkins, who beat Halak. So he played very well for being the youngest player in that game and in that tournament. And if you look at the overall, I mean, Europe looked really slow. I mean, I didn't see this, but in hearing some of the commentary this morning, they said that Chara had hacked McDavid at one point after Chara had been on the ice for 2 of the 3 goals. And I guess he was a little upset that all these young whippersnappers were making the old man look bad, and he just was giving him a little lesson. And this was in an exhibition game, so. I mean, I thought North America was impressive. I think their speed is going to be a swaying factor to their success.
Yeah, this is something that you and I were in agreement about before this tournament began. Now we're seeing it. I think now if some of the commentators or, pundits had a chance to redo their predictions, they might look at Team North America completely different now and say, maybe I shouldn't have thought about that age factor thing, and maybe I should have thought about the fact, like we said, that they'll come in fresh and don't have any injuries and have a lot of jump, and they did all those things. They got good goaltending. Matt Murray's a good goalie. I don't know what it's going to take. He won a Stanley Cup, but I guess he's still got to prove himself. They're going to be one of the better teams.
The one thing that might be against them is they're in the tougher division. If you look at the 2 divisions, I mean, they're going to be playing Russia, Sweden, and Finland. Canada got the U.S., Team Europe, and Team Czech.
Yeah, they're going to have to somehow cut down on the Russian shots, right? Because they'll just shoot. So they're going to have to do something about that, and they're going to have to outgrind Sweden and Finland. But I got to tell you something. Again, I've seen Matthews in international play and otherwise play that style, and he can play that style because he is a big body, and he will tire you out. And if you saw, he did tire out the other defense late in shifts, and he would get chances as a result because, again, I don't want to sound like a broken record, but for a guy his size, very fleet of foot with great moves.
And now, last night they didn't even play Dylan Larkin, who I would argue is one of their 12 best forwards.
Right.
Now today, apparently in their morning skate, they shook up the lines a bit. And, again, this is exhibition.
They're playing possum, too, these teams right now.
Right. He put Eichel and McDavid together on the top line with Goudreau. So, I mean, and that's playing Eichel out of position because he's the natural center, but he's playing on the wing. And I'm sure, McDavid and Eichel will be an interesting combo. But, yeah, I mean, I think you're right. I think they're playing possum a little bit, but I do think that, the structure of the divisions, if you look at it, it almost guarantees Canada and the U.S. Advancing to the next round because I don't see Europe as a challenge and I don't see the Czechs. I think those are the 2 worst teams, so it almost guarantees U.S. and Canada going forward.
I mean, it's a good chance. We don't ever want to say anything's a lock.
Right.
Look, I mean, Team Europe still had a lot of good players on the ice. Kopitar's on the ice, Gabourik's on the ice. There were a lot of good names. The other interesting thing is, so tonight's game, I'm covering it. Oh, go ahead.
Well, let's just talk about this, and then we'll talk about Canada, U.S.
Yep.
In the games yesterday, 3 games yesterday, we had 3 injuries, which it's early September. These guys, I mean, they're always in shape now, but you're ramping it up, and especially the Czech-Russian game and the Finland-Sweden game were emotional. You had, but Marian Hossa had blocked a shot with his foot, had a bruised foot, but he's apparently okay. Vladimir Sobotka got hit by Nikita Zaitsev of Russia, the Leaf defenseman, and they thought it might have been a broken clavicle, but it turned out to be a bruise, and he might. I think he's going to be out their next game, but he's not severely injured. And JT Miller for Team North America had blocked a shot with his hand, but he came back in the third period. But okay, you're going to have bruises, you're going to have bumps, you're going to have injuries, but this is the thing that teams are scared about.
Sure.
Not only okay, if you lose John Tavares,
you're going to have 3 weeks after they come back to get through the preseason, right? So what's going to happen is when these guys are done, unless they really have a terrible injury, if they just have bumps and bruises, they're not going to play much in the preseason.
Right. Yeah, true. But you're talking about the injury that's the 6-week injury or the 8-week.
Yeah.
You're talking about the knee or the separated shoulder or something like that. And if that happens, it really could affect a team that is a borderline team to make the playoffs. I mean,
no doubt.
Yeah, if Boston loses Brad Marchand or Patrice Bergeron, they're behind the 8 ball because that's not a deep team.
Yeah.
Okay, but yeah, let's get to Canada-U.S., the game tonight, and have to start with this because John Tortorella came out, and I actually agree with him on this. I actually agreed with him on his statement about Kaepernick, which puts me in the minority because most people think he should keep his mouth shut. But I think he's
John Tortorella. He's not going to keep his mouth shut. Let's be real about that.
Right, exactly. So don't tell the public that you think he should keep his mouth shut because he's not going to.
Right.
But they're playing 2 back-to-back exhibition games against Team Canada. And this is like Sweden and Finland. It's like Russia and U.S. or Russia and Canada. Even though it's an exhibition game, these teams are going to go out there and kill each other. And he's a little mad that they're playing 2 games back-to-back against each other and thinks it's pretty stupid. And I actually
why do we? And it is stupid, but why are they doing it? Because they will pack the stands.
They'll pack the stands, and they'll actually have people watch because it's Canada-U.S. Even if it's an exhibition game, they'll have people in Canada, and they'll have some people in the U.S. watch. Although
I watched parts. I watched all of Team North America. I watched parts of the other games. This game I'm not going to be around for. Maybe I'll listen to some of it. I'm not going out of my way because I also know John Tortorella as a coach. Whatever you see in these 2 games is not guaranteed. It's not guaranteed to be a set lineup. I think he's going to fool around with things. I think he is going to play it completely different than what he's going to play when the games count. And so other than switching the goalies, he is going to mix up lines. He's going to do a lot of stuff like that because if you remember when he used to practice, he used to play possum with a lot of players. He used to skate different guys at the pregame skate to throw teams off. He's going to do the same thing with this.
Yeah, and I think also, I mean, I saw some commentary regarding like Brandon Dubinsky, who is somebody who gets under Sidney Crosby's skin. It's somebody he does not like to play against. Dubinsky is probably, if Crosby plays in, I don't think Crosby will play both games. He'll probably play one of the 2. They'll probably rotate. But if it's Crosby will be matched up with Dubinsky, and Dubinsky will try to piss him off. So that kind of game, and that's right down Tortorella's alley. He's going to have these guys, instigate, and that'll be the fun thing because that'll get the juices flowing. But I think that's all you're going to really get out of the exhibition.
The alarming thing for me was listening to panelists the other day was how they were all like, well, yeah, Jonathan Quick, he's the guy. You got to use him. Chris Chelios is like, well, yeah, he's the man. And it's like, listen, I get that you want to go with guys who are experienced, and they brought up Mike Richter from '96. Totally different situation, like completely different situation. But at this point in the careers of these 3 players, I don't care if Ben Bishop won a Vezina. I don't care what Jonathan Quick had done in the past. I still think Corey Schneider is the better goalie today.
Well, I think they're going to
stick by that.
They're probably going to rotate them, wouldn't you think? I mean, Quick may play the whole game this time, but
not one panelist brought up Schneider's name as possibly playing or being like the number 1, and I'm thinking, why? Why? Because he's the New Jersey Devil? Because the team had they had a losing team because they didn't make the playoffs, even though they almost did? I mean,
the only way they were even close was because of Corey Schneider. I mean, he
right.
he was one of the best goalies in the league until the end of the year, and then I think he had some injury problems, probably got tired out. But they were in the race, and everybody expected the Devils to be in the Austin Matthews sweepstakes. They didn't expect them to be a playoff contender last year.
And I get it that Kings fans, and people in LA who watch Quick all the time were telling me, hey, he keeps them in games. He's a big function of that. I get that. That's what a goalie's job is. All of these goalies keep their teams in games. But if I tell you what I saw from Jonathan Quick last year, at times was terrific, and then at other times was below average for him.
Mm-hmm.
Bishop's made it to the promised land. He's gotten really far with his team. Do I still think Bishop is that cold stone lockdown goalie? No, I don't actually. And I think a function of having Hedman and some of the guys that the scorers that he has on Tampa helps his goaltending a lot. I think Schneider with this kind of team in front of him would be even better. I just think, again, I just think he's the better goalie. That's just me.
Yeah, I like Quick, but I didn't think Quick was particularly strong against San Jose last year in the playoffs. I mean, I picked the Kings to, that were my pick to come out of the West, and they didn't get out of the first round, so it shows how brilliant I am. But I think Schneider's a really good goaltender, and Bishop. I mean, the injury thing, we've talked about that many a time, where Eck has said that there were some rumors about that the questioning of that injury. But, when he played last year, he was fantastic. So I don't think you can go wrong any way. I just think that, you just don't default to go to Quick. I mean, is it going to be one of those situations like Team Canada, like we talked about yesterday, where, like in 2002, they started with Cujo, and then if he dropped the ball once, then they went to somebody else and went with that guy and went with Luongo.
I think they're going with Price, but the issue will be with Price because he's such an overwhelming favorite to be their goalie that he'll have to have 2 bad games to come out. Now, if Price is just, let's say, Roberto Luongo good, and I know that sounds mean, right, because he's been very successful for Team Canada, that still may not win him the tournament. I mean, we've seen where even like a average goalie for Team Canada can get you a gold medal. But I think in this tournament, because there are a couple teams that are really, really gunning for it, and it's not to say the Olympics aren't, but I just think for whatever reason the talent level's higher now than it may have been in the last few years. An average performance by a Team Canada goalie is not going to cut it.
No, but in the case of Team USA, I mean, I think if Quick drops the ball, that Tortorella won't be shy to go to Schneider or go to Bishop. Probably go to Bishop. I think he'll probably end up going to Bishop.
Well, he's got to go to Bishop. I mean, I can guarantee you that.
Yeah. Okay. I wanted to ask you one thing because it was my first look at the ESPN broadcast. Linda Cohn in the studio with Brett Hull, and I think it was Chelios.
Yep.
And John Buchgras with Kevin Weeks, and I thought they did a pretty good job actually.
Mm-hmm.
I thought it was, it's like this is not the middle of January where they've been doing games a lot. There's going to be some little idiots.
Yeah, there were little bugs that people pointed out, but I thought overall it was good. It was entertaining. I thought the studio stuff was fine. Did I need the John Tortorella interview to talk about his decision and you can't talk him off it? No. But if some people like that because they felt it was good entertainment, then that's fine.
Yeah, get used to it. This is called the typical ESPN hype. They're gonna beat stories that they think will attract attention into the ground, and that's what they've done with Tortorella already.
Actually, what was funnier was yesterday, because I left ESPN on for various reasons. I'm a tennis fan, so U.S. Open, and hearing them having to do live reads on the U.S. Open and a couple of their other shows from their hosts for hockey was interesting because not that they flubbed it, but you could tell that they totally were not comfortable or used to talking about hockey or doing a live read for hockey.
Yeah.
And so that to me was fun, especially for the tennis, right? Because that's like the farthest thing from what they're thinking about. And so I did enjoy that. I did.
Yeah, the Russ did show on that.
Yeah.
Okay, a few PTO announcements today, just keeping track of all these. Okay, instead of just naming the names, I'll name the three names out there, and we'll give a thumbs up or thumbs down on their chances of potentially making the particular rosters. Three names: Eric Nystrom for the Blues. I don't, unless he could have a fantastic camp and make it. I don't think
I
Eric.
just think they're too deep. I don't think he can make it out of camp.
Zach Boychuk with the Arizona Coyotes.
It's an interesting one because Zach Boychuk, he's worked hard to sort of like shed the tag of being a first rounder, right? Because he was a first rounder a lot of years ago. He's become a different player.
Yeah.
They do need a sandpapery kind of player.
Right.
And so I think he's got a good chance of making it if he has a good showing in that different role. So I think Boychuk, I'm going to give him a thumbs up.
I think you're right. I think he could be like the replacement for Steve Downey in the sense of a full-line guy. If they pay him like say $750,000 a year, 1-year contract, I think he could make it. The one that mentioned on his blog and that Darren Drager confirmed about 45 minutes ago was Chris Versteeg, which is interesting because Chris Versteeg signed with Bern in the Swiss League. And apparently the contract got rejected because of some medical problem, an insurance problem for a hip injury that he had. So the contract was null and void, and then he comes back to North America, and now he has a PTO with the Oilers. I think he's got a good chance to make it because the Oilers are looking for experience, especially on the wings.
Yeah, I think he'll make it based on that, but he really needs to show me something. He's fallen down the last few years.
Yeah. Now,
I do have some breaking news if you want it.
Go ahead. No, please.
So here's breaking news. So Steve Yzerman has basically come out and said that he's possibly going to keep Bishop and Vasilevsky all season and not trade Bishop at the deadline. And I think that is the route he's going to go. I don't think he's going to trade him because I think he wants to win the Stanley Cup.
Yeah.
And he's going to do that. I also think they could have a nudge, nudge, wink, wink agreement with him so that he goes UFA, he doesn't have to be protected, and he gets signed after Las Vegas makes their picks.
And so you got to remember, Bishop is not as young as people think. I think he's 30 right now.
Yeah.
So, and he might like it in Tampa, and if he gets say $4.5 million, he's making over $5. He's making close to $6, I believe, on his current deal, but he's got a year left. Stamkos took less.
Yeah.
Hedman took less. They seem to want to stay there, and Tampa in the winter. I wonder why. And no state taxes. There you go. So
and that Jonathan Drouin guy looked pretty good last night too.
Yeah.
Good shifts.
But the thing was we were gonna get into some contract situations, and I know that there was mentioned yesterday that Kucherov and there's some significant distance between Kucherov and the Lightning on their deal, and that it's probably not going to be resolved. And this is similar to Ristolainen's statement about the contract talks with the Sabres, that it's not going to be resolved until after the World Cup. Now the thing is, the World Cup ends on October 2nd, and the regular season starts on October 12th. So you're talking 10 days. Not a lot of time, Russ.
But they're still look. They could say they're far apart, but they know what the parameters are. They could still get things done fairly quickly.
Yeah. Well, and now this came out today, and we've been talking about Gaudreau and why Calgary didn't get him signed at the same time that Sean Monahan was signed. Well, apparently they wanted to, but Gaudreau wants more than Monahan. And apparently, according to the report from Eric Francis of Sportsnet, Monahan got signed for, I believe it was 7 years at $6.375 million. Gaudreau and the Flames are over $1.5 million apart. He wants $8 million a year. Now he's a couple years older than Monahan. I think he's 24. Monahan's 21 or 22. So I mean, I understand that and he's had 2 pretty good years coming out of college, but I don't think they're going to make him the highest paid player on that team. It would be higher than Giordano and higher than Monahan. So
no, I think they're going to play hardball with him, and I think he's going to get the same offer as Monahan, and I think he's going to have to accept it.
Yeah, but I mean, if he sticks to his guns, then we could see
He's not going to hold out, so then they're going to sign a bridge deal.
right. But if he signs a bridge deal, then he's not going to get anywhere close to what Monahan's making. It's going to be probably in the 4.5 year range.
Right, but I'm pretty sure that's what Calgary's going to do. Right? They're not going to make him the highest paid player. I don't think they're going to give him more than Monahan. They might, but I don't think so.
Now, Ryan Strome, who's an RFA, and we've talked about Ryan Strome over the last few months and how I think, a guy who was a 5th overall pick in the draft and showed some talent and some potential is really, I think, gone sideways for the Islanders and has not turned out to be as good a player as I thought he was going to be. Well, the Islanders, apparently Gar Snow came out and said that the Islanders have a rule regarding restricted free agents that if they're not signed to a contract before the beginning of the season, that they will not negotiate and that, the start of camp, which will be in about 2 weeks. So if they're not signed by the start of camp, that they're done for the year. Now that seems a little draconian to me, but
that's the way they've been, though. That has been.
Yeah, and now the thing is, I mean, if that's the case, then I would say that Strome is probably on the block because I don't think that they're going to have him sit there and he wouldn't use up anything. I think it would go back.
I don't think they're rushing to a contract with him. He didn't have a good year.
Yeah, well, I mean, if they're playing hardball with him and they want him for say 1 year just so he can test it, what he can do. I mean, okay, fine, but this is a guy who should have a bigger role on that team. Maybe there's a lack of consistency there. And
they have more people coming in. Like Barzal could possibly steal a position, and then if that happens, what's he going to do? Like that's what's going to happen here. If Strome were to hold out, Barzal would get an increased role, right? And if he started to light it up, that could backfire on Strome.
Well, yeah, I mean, you've got three guys who could potentially, at training camp, if they light it up, in Ho-Sang, in Del Cole, and in Barzal. If any one of the three impress.
So he has no leverage.
Yeah. I mean, he may be looking for a 2-year deal. They're offering him a 1-year deal. They're probably playing hardball with him, and maybe he thinks that he can with Opozo gone and with Nielsen gone, but maybe they don't think he's capable of fulfilling the role of those two players who have departed via free agency.
Maybe. Hey, how could we miss 2 days ago that Carolina signed Michael Leighton to a 2-way contract? We missed that.
I didn't miss it. I saw it. Nobody cares. I mean, I would assume that is a signing for Charlotte.
Yeah.
That's a signing for their AHL affiliate because they've got Ward and Lack, and they know that eventually this year, like the last 2 or 3 years, Cam Ward's going to get hurt, so they're going to need a veteran goaltender to come up, and be the backup to Lack when he gets hurt.
Or if they get to the point where they could trade Ward and they feel comfortable with Lack being the go-to, then they'll use Leighton as their backup, and that's fine.
No, he's a 1 year. He would be a good 1 year plug. I don't think anything more than that.
Right.
But yeah, I didn't miss it. And a few other things here. This Vegas thing with the team name, I'm sort of sick of talking about it. But comes out today from Brian Blessing, who's a former Buffalo sports reporter who's now based in Vegas. That he had an interview with Bill Foley, the owner of the expansion franchise, and according to Foley, the team name is guaranteed to be something Knights. They don't know what, but it's going to be something Knights. Dark.
So it could be like Hot Vegas Knights?
Yeah, Silver Knights, Desert Knights. What I don't know. But they've
Good Knights?
Yeah. Knights in. No, just I don't know. It's just
Knights in White Satin.
Oh my God! I'm not gonna go down the Bob Seger. No, but it's just. I mean, come on. I mean, really, just make a freaking decision and get it over with. I understand it's important, but it's not that important that you're just anguishing about constantly.
Yeah, this is This has more drama than it needs to have.
Yeah, really, I think it does. But yeah, no. So I mean, we're oh, and one I have to bring up this little piece of news regarding the Leafs, which this situation it's sort of bizarre. The Jared Cowen contract situation. Now, for those who don't know, Jared Cowen was acquired as part of the Phaneuf deal in February.
Right.
When he was acquired by the Leafs basically made it known that they weren't interested in him and they were going to buy him out. He practiced with them a couple times. He had some sort of hip problem, some degenerative hip problem. He was medically examined and cleared and then waived to the American Hockey League. And once they waived him to the AHL, they said, we're not going to call you up. We're not going to play you in the American Hockey League. You are free to negotiate with any NHL team. We give you permission. We're going to buy you out at the end of the year. Okay. So according to the reports after that, during that time in between that they told him in February that he was not going to play and June when he was bought out, he had consulted with his doctor and had surgery on that hip. So the Leafs go to buy him out, and Cowen claims that he was hurt at the time and that they can't buy him out. So now there's been an arbitration situation between the PA, between the Leafs, and Cowen, and the buyout was 72 hours after the Stanley Cup final. That's when the buyout window opened up.
Something like that, yeah.
They're not having the final resolution to this. Just came out today. Lance Hornby from the Toronto Sun reported that they are having the arbitration hearing or this decision in early to mid-October. So they're not going to have this until the very end of the exhibition schedule or the beginning of the regular season. And God forbid if there was somebody that the Leafs wanted to sign because they've only got 2 pro contracts left under the 50, or if they needed the cap room to sign somebody. Now, their situation is they have so many guys that they're going to put on LTIR that's not going to be a problem. But it's just this is sort of like the situation with Dennis Weidman where it took so long to adjudicate something, and it's now taken June, July, August, September. It's taken four months to make this decision. I just think it's ridiculous, actually.
It is. I mean, I think it is. There is something to talk about with Patrick Waugh, right? Because he was he was at the game yesterday.
Yes, he dropped the ceremonial drop of the puck, and I made a comment on Twitter. It's like, Patrick Waugh in Quebec City? Wow, what a shock. I mean, come on. As soon as he resigned in Colorado, I mean, the talk was if there's an expansion franchise or if there's a team that moves to Quebec, Patrick Waugh is going to be the coach and maybe even the coach and the general manager.
Right.
Not this Montreal stuff, because I don't think he will ever coach or GM in Montreal. That's like Vinny Lecavalier going to Montreal. Like it's
I think it's even worse.
Yeah, because he's an all-time great Canadian and left in that rather dramatic way. Yeah, I just don't think he'll ever be part of that organization. But I do think that in Quebec City, where he's been owner of the Quebec franchise in the QMJHL, so we know that he's ingrained in that community. So I think if there is an NHL team there, that he's going to be. It was just you saw him dropping the puck, and I'm like,
But he said that he respects Sakic's decisions. But I did also see another article where it said that because it seems like everybody picked up on that and went the safe route. But there was one that wasn't the safe route where they basically said it wasn't just player decisions. It was also people working in the organization. Did you see that too?
I didn't, but it doesn't surprise me. I mean, I think he wanted – I mean, remember from the very beginning when he was brought in, it was supposedly he's not being brought in as just the coach. It was coach –
right.
He was director of player personnel, so he was like a coach plus. And the perception was that Sakic was a GM, but sort of like a GM in name only, and that he was there. I mean, there was sort of this power divide, and in the end, it doesn't sound like there was a power divide. It sounds like Sakic was the GM, and Roy wanted certain things in certain ways, wanted certain players, and didn't get it, and decided to take his toys and go home. And that's his right. But I
Now
think
he's still getting paid,
right.
and
Well, no, he resigned. He resigned.
no, but he's still getting paid,
Wow.
and he's got another year on his contract.
Wow, that's surprising. I mean, when you get fired, you keep your salary, but when you resign, usually you're giving it up.
Nope.
Okay.
He still has a year in his contract. If teams wanted him, they'd have to talk to the Avalanche because it's a way of the Avalanche keeping him off the market for a year, right?
Right.
So they're doing that, and he's going to travel. He said, "Hey, I'm going to have a good time," and I'm thinking, "Yeah, I wish I could have like a year where I'm paid a couple $1,000,000 and I could just travel and say, yeah, I don't have to worry about it." So
Yeah,
I hope he gets an Instagram account or
I was
something.
gonna say you're gonna see him on Instagram like laying on a beach in Hawaii, like one of those black volcanic beaches. Like, hey guys, the Avs have lost 7 in a row, and I'm here drinking a Mai Tai. I'm like, oh god,
Yeah, but I mean, it's an amazing thing because he literally can do whatever he wants now for the next year.
Yep. Well, must be nice to be Patrick Roy.
He just said, "I have a year left in my contract, and I just want to enjoy myself."
I'm sure he will. Well, Russ, that'll do it. We'll end the show here. We will be back on Monday with another edition of the Hockey Buzzcast. We'll have Eck and Cast of Thousands. For Russ Cohen, I'm Michael Agello. Thanks for watching, and remember, without the buzz, it's just hockey.